Okay, and we're recording.
Okay. So it's been a while since we were revisiting. This file was already being established. The first part of the matrix you've already sent out, and then we had a computer glitch issue. We had to get another computer. So this file, we're now in catch up, and here we are in May now when we're completing a file. So, but I just wanted to connect with what's transitioning right now is the journey of a completed circle, and we kind of touched on that just by bringing forward what we ended up with in the first part of the matrix file was about the art of circumnavigation of the archer, right? It's the releasing straight as the way to strike the mark of the arrow. It's not by nature of sin. You've actually defined by hitting the mark of intention, but really it's a language because everything ties into the center of the compass. You become centered, and by that you've really learned the art of circumnavigation by releasing the arrow. So we have this language of straight and circular, and yet you've struck yourself with the resolve. So the resolve, your walk of inculcation has produced the walk of intention, which in Hebrew concept, as you well know, is the completion of circle. It's not the Western mindset of lineal.
Right.
Okay. And we are very well aware of, and I need to preempt this for the purpose of removing any confusion with those that might be in, and I mean this with the utmost respect, in a lesser standing, because Father's language is a very lofty concept, and it frees us of the entanglement of the restraints and the restrictions of the world's projected matrix. It's the inverted matrix. So yes, we're not saying that there isn't a fortification of a completed entity that is in the form of an adversary. We're not saying that whatever we partner with to create a reality, the reality because of who we are is then manifest as a reality. We are simply breaking free of that construct, and now we're presenting a greater construct. So we say things and we share things that from another perspective, I fully comprehend that they can seem that it's speaking a language of obfuscation, or we've even been sharing with us that we speak a very new age language, or even a Mason language. And we do, as the Spirit is my witness, we do not study that. We have nothing to do with that. We are simply shedding light on truth based on the organicness of the spiral extraction of the Spirit.
Through the languages of Hebrew and Aramaic.
Through the language of lineal, or because it's a lineal construct in the pages of black and white. There is a spirit frequency that spirals to connect the mother component to the father component. So we are spirit led through a lineal concept or construct called word.
Right.
And so that's what we're doing, and we have nothing to do with the secret societies or anything of that origin. That's nothing. But it's amazing that I heard you sharing earlier on with other people. If you don't think that they have this, we're mistaken. They have knowledge of something that's been suppressed.
Absolutely.
Because it really is. It shows what power and authority is, and the inversion wants to have the power and authority to control through that resonance, and
to control and manipulate and suppress others for the power gain of themselves.
Right, instead of freely relinquishing it to assist others.
Yeah, to serve other people.
Right, and that's our heart. Our heart is to simply shed light on that which is well, I'm not going to say black and white. It is black and white, but it's also multi-dimensional colors.
Yeah.
The spiral. That's
exactly.
I see black and white as the letters, and then the spiraling is the multi-dimensional colors of spirit, and that's all we've done to extrapolate out. Okay. And I find it amazing that it does tether to, or similar to, hidden information by secret societies, and I just love it that the Spirit organically needs this to come forward so we can establish it in the organicness of its intention. So So with that, we're going to start off with the Firstlings of the Matrix. This is where we left off, and we're going to go into a little verse here. And this is going to be a very lofty teaching in comprehension, because this goes really deep as far as the revelation that's being shown to us. In its simplicity, again, as you know, it is very complex. We are very, again, because the whole language of mother and father is an oxymoron. It points straight, but it's circular. It points up, but it's down. It's down, but it's up.
It's mother, but it's father. But it's father, and it's father.
And that's exactly. But when you're able to see it, you're able to reason through it to realize that all is simply all.
Right. And that's what Regina and I were talking about the other day too. Is like how, again, I said, Ken says this all the time. How can you explain all?
Right.
In drips and drops and partials and fractures, because all is all.
Yeah.
Hence why the vision you shared about the equation, the mathematical equation in the whiteboard with a dot on it.
Right.
It's like, there you go.
There you go.
There you go.
That's why the compass is broken into degrees.
Right.
And the compass rose, which is actually, because we are the compass, we are all. We are simply finding through fractals and portions and measures and degrees. And I do not say degrees, again, to connect to
Freemasonry or anything.
Right.
Like that.
I don't. That's not. But yet, I'm simply saying what I'm sharing in the innocence of organicness. We are not mechanical. We are organical.
Well, to those who are pure, everything is pure.
Everything is pure. Right. And ascension is based on purity and innocence.
Exactly.
And so that's my heart, is to share this from that frequency. And
clean hands, pure heart.
Right. And so in that we have fractals of a compass. We have degrees and measures that calibrate us incrementally to become a full circle. Yeah. And in that full circle, there's a dot in the center. Now we're established. And really, this is atomic by nature. This is the mastery of the macro and the micro. You are, because that's the expanse of atom. And the measure of two becoming one again, and no longer separated. We put it back together, the pieces of mother and father.
The twins that were divided.
Kal-El is accomplished now.
Yeah.
So in this matrix language, we see the Firstlings. And I wanted to share, Jesse and I, my son, were talking about order yesterday. And the Firstlings are about, because what has to happen, there has to be an arisen nature that comes to the standard of intention. And the standard of intention is already established through mandates, statutes, and order. And the order is what's going to, as what was brought in, it will most likely, because I don't know this for sure, but what I am seeing and being shown is that there be an order removed based on the order becoming the established order. And so what I'm seeing is there's a prime directive that was given in the form of a mandate or statutes through the Pentateuch, through what we would call a commandment. But a commandment is really a legalese term to say this is a standard mandate of order given to establish the order of intention.
Right, that makes sense.
Light calls forth light.
Right.
Deep calls forth deep, and therefore there is a measure. Whether, and it's in its own right, it's a safety protocol that doesn't allow a breach to enter into that which is pure. It keeps the taint or the virus clear to become the cure. The cure, is removed from, like, there's a separation there. And so even when we look at the word, there's this Peter, this firstling, is exactly, this is of the order of what you have shared and I have shared about
Pater, yeah.
About a harvest before a harvest.
Right, the first fruits of the first fruits, the barley bride before the wheat bride.
Right.
Because again, everything that has been written in Hebrew and Aramaic has agriculture in mind, because that's where the mindset was of the people, that it was being written for and to.
Right.
And unfortunately we've lost sight of that.
But that's what we're establishing, is there's a prime objective that is, but the order has to be reestablished. We're sharing from really, we're sharing we are also sharing about subjectively seeing the object lesson.
Right.
And this is the bowing to that which we do not know, because there's an object lesson of becoming. So we become the objective, and then we're able to subjectively share the objective. It's again, it's around and round. But I just wanted to share that this primordial order is based on, first of all, original. This is where we get primordial from, and it's from really the adjective of first, original, first in order of time, chief, principal, excellence, distinguished, noble.
Yeah, and I like where it says too, from the primordial, so a prime being what you just explained, but primordial, a beginning.
Right.
The beginning, origin. So going back to Genesis 1:1. Better sheet in the beginning.
Right. So we're going back to where we had Elohim establish an order.
And the ALEPH TAV.
Absolutely, because this is the way we return back to, is through the measure of the 222, the ALEPH TAV, that establishes a prime adjective, and this is primordial.
Right, because it's the first and the last and the beginning and the end.
So when we see primordial, we see two words. It's prime and it's order.
Sure.
It's the prime order.
Sure.
And so that's where prime order comes from. And when you look, it's really because I want to tether it not just to the Hebrew and the Aramaic. We'll tether it to into the English or the Germanic.
Because the Germanic is really where English was primarily pulled from.
Right. And so this goes back to the 14th century when we're seeing this language of where it comes from. It's talking about something that was established first, original, chief, principal, right? But now we can go into the word order, and I find this very interesting because order is from the 12th century, and it comes from a row of threads in a loom.
Very interesting, considering that has been a theme.
Well, it's not just a theme.
Well, I mean, but in a lot of the extractions.
Well, it's based off the definition. If anyone's followed, again, we're mixing. Not that we're mixing. We're just, again, how do you bring all to all? We're simply bringing degrees of the compass into the full measure of intention to complete the circle.
Right.
And so the compass is based off of calibrations and measurement, and we've already shared in the video segments of when the computer went down. Now we're back to doing excavation in the morning here. Is that the West, by definition, is gathering material, and it's based off the word woof and warp, which means that is the left and right motion or an up and down of the loom.
Right.
So out of the West, when we first come in out of the garden into the world, we're called to an order and said and asked, make a choice. Bada. Choose. Choose a direction. And we're establishing
either right or left.
Right, and the left is not, you can't return that way. That's Enoch already was trying to decipher that to the fall and going like, you can't go back that way. You are going to have to walk inculcation now. You're going to have to go step upon step, foot upon stone. Right, it almost wants to be a poem there, right? Because this is the journey of flesh and bone. You're now going to have to process the journey through inculcation, what means heel upon toe, toe upon heel, in a direction of mode.
In a walk,
to
in a way.
Experience why you're here.
Exactly. Which, because they can't go to the left, they have to go to the right, which is mother.
Well, that's the order of righteousness.
Right.
Righteousness is simply
taking the right hand.
And that's south. From the west, go south.
Right.
South will then point to the east.
Right.
East will reveal the north. And you've completed it now to say you're now completed.
The compass rose.
The compass rose, because east is arisen as
Adam Kadmon.
Adam Kadmon, right. And so in this order, we already see that it's directly connected to begin to weave to fit together.
Which is important to connect to weaving our garments of light.
And this is based, absolutely, because this is what, because in this firstling, it is, narrow is the road to broad, because and I don't mean that in a negative. I'm saying that we have to keep in our foresight that this firstling is really also saying, without even saying it, that this would be a completed Merkabah. Because the whole womb and the matrix is to produce a firstling. You cannot be a firstling without having the Merkabah established.
Right. So even in going through the birthing canal and birthing yourself anew, in creating the Adam Kadmon, aka light being, aka Merkabah, the narrow path is that birthing canal, which is connected to the matrix. Right?
Yeah,
and the firstlings.
Right. So,
I mean, even looking at just what and I know you need to finish that there, because there's a lot just in the small little here, the few little words that are being shown. It's like, oh my gosh.
I'm just simply saying that again. This is a very advanced teaching,
right?
But this isn't about that. This is simply we're just sharing fractals of
right.
In hopes that we draw or produce an interest that people would do either their own research, or we can then go into a deeper teaching. But because as you know, as I know, is that, oh my goodness, 8 hours goes by before you know it, and you're still stuck on one verse. Not stuck, you're just extrapolating out amazing
in one verse.
You're pulling through out a residue of that is dimensionally called heaven.
Right.
So in this word also we have order, which means to keep things. It means to fit together. Consistent means the gathering of pieces and parts. That's the weaving part. And it's really, there's a connection to this order, and it's R in the original language, and it means to fit together, where we even get the word adorn, right? And it goes back to an art, a skill, a craft, a manner, a mode.
Very interesting. I'm already thinking like a whole bunch of Hebrew words. I'm like, oh my gosh.
That's why I put in
even the adah, to adorn and bedeck and perpetuity.
Absolutely.
It's like, wow.
The etymology of the language, it already, reason I like to connect it, and probably you as well, is because it already is establishing the Hebrew Aramaic content.
Absolutely.
Based on its extraction, because it goes right back to origin language.
Yeah.
And so it's really neat to see that we can take it back to its 12th century meaning, and here we are in a new era, epoch, and we've really softened the language, and we've made it just, we've really lost the definition. And in Hebrew and Aramaic and why we do what we do is to take the definition back to origin.
Exactly.
Better sheet.
Yeah, exactly.
So we can see the intention again, to know that there's a plan and a purpose, and an order has to be established so the order can be removed, because that's the whole purpose of why we're here.
Because the alphabet, right? The alpha language that suppresses our ability to build covenant, bet tav, right? Mm-hmm. It's the alpha language. The alphabet is to suppress that. So what we're doing is we're unraveling the alphabet to bring it back into the aleph bet ivri, the crossover language that actually gives you power to do so.
Absolutely.
So, it's good for us to be able to go through this so people understand where the English and why it's suppressive.
Yeah.
In order to be...
I would love
the truth to set us free.
If you want to go have some fun, just go look at etymology, and then look at the word prime and parma, because there's in the root of prime it means before, and if anyone, and forward, hence in front of before. That definition, definition, is the east.
Exactly, Kadmon.
Yeah. So now we have a prime order that is removed based on it coming forward, hence in front of, before the first achieved.
As the excellent and distinguished, as noble.
So now,
so Adam Kadmon is that.
And east is
amazing.
It is amazing.
It's incredibly
right.
amazing.
So we can connect the English language to this. But
yeah.
I do find it also amazing that east Adam Kadmon is, and we've already shared this, but this is just a reminder, and please go visit that teaching. I think it's on the compass on the east part, and it goes to also the antiquity of time,
yes,
of the ancient of days.
Exactly.
Now I find it interesting, this word for prime in per, if you look at its origin, if we go back and find it, it actually, part of its distinction is forward by extension, and a part of its meaning means great grandfather.
Wow. So grandfather, grandflower.
To pass over.
Yeah.
Around, before. Para. Right. Further, remote.
Wow.
Right? So now
I just actually shared that word, by the way. So that is connecting Aramaic, Hebrew, and Sanskrit, all of the vibratory words.
So these are now to lead, to pass over, forward through, and it's the same content as in the word for portal. Right? It's the same language of pass over or pass through. You've entered in from the west to the south to the east. You are now revealed the dark, right? Because the dark is just simply the ingathering process of light.
Of that which has been hidden.
Of that which has been hidden. It just means the deep is, and this para is actually right from the face of God, we are no longer the face, we're the hind part that must journey in the earth. So we would find the face again, and the first occurrence of that would be in Genesis 1:2, when it says the Spirit covered the surface or the face of the deep.
Right.
At one point we were the deep,
right.
and the Spirit veiled us,
right.
so we would go through the experience of being unveiled.
Exactly.
Right?
And para in Aramaic means to bear fruit.
To bear fruit.
Right? Because it actually has an aleph on the suffix, not the hay.
So this would tie back to the firstlings.
And this whole thing that you were just talking about, even the portal, I'm laughing because it's exactly tied into the wise and foolish virgins. Like the timing of this, that we took a break from doing excavations and the computer went down, was like all those other things had to come forward before this. Right. It's just amazing, the timing. I'm always so excited to see how Spirit unfolds things.
So this which is part of the prime objective or the prime order or the primordial means of creating the order again, is a journey in the passage to pierce through, to run through, right?
Run through, right?
So you're being pierced, and exactly, we've already shared this on the higher narrative, Father. Your heart is being pierced by Father. It's got nothing to do. It does have to do with intimacy. I'm not going to say it doesn't, but not in carnal flesh.
Exactly.
It's got everything to do with spiritual connotation of the realization that even sharing this, my heart is being pierced. Father's piercing me as He's pierced me in the procedures of becoming the completed mother. Right. Mother rears me so I can hand over to Father, and it's always the piercing of my heart that unveils the greater's intention.
Because it's always and forever will be a heart issue.
And that's what we share when we're sharing that. We see Father is still behind the veil in the fullness of revelation. Mother showing us, and that's why we can bow to that which we do not know.
Exactly.
I surrender, I subject myself to the objective until I become the objective, and then before I can turn, which is Panah again, turn as the face.
Right.
Because I've walked the hind part, now I can show the object lesson of subjecting myself to the journey. Or another to subject themselves to the journey.
So then connected to Paniel, or Panuel, or the Peniel.
There's so much, yes, absolutely.
So
absolutely.
Just connecting it, because even then there's a scripture that talks about Panuel, the face of God, having to do with Jacob and Jacob's ladder.
So we haven't even moved 1 inch off this page, so that's the way it goes. Because
so it's just introduction. That's all good. We're just leading up to this.
There's so much in this. It's just like, and, I mean, I've got.
Well, you and I haven't had a discussion like this in months now.
Yeah.
And so
it's
we're
really
just catching up.
But it's just, it's so exciting. I just want to tell people, be so excited for what's coming. Because, we can see as this now, because we've looked at it for so long.
Instead of at it.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is the point that we're trying to make, is the firstlings no longer are looking at it. They're in the resonance frequency as this. And they wouldn't, and so these these firstlings that are about to be removed are coming back in the humble measure of intention to graciously express themselves as the completed measure, to assist others to become the same or in the similitude of.
Yeah.
And so
I think it's interesting as we scroll down, not that we're going to pause on all of this, but even in the first of this word firstling, the very first occurrence, it has Bakur right in the front of it.
Right.
And that is first fruit.
First fruits.
The first fruit of the firstlings.
Absolutely.
Right? It's like, oh my gosh, that's so amazing. And the Kaf Lamed being whole and completed.
Yep, these are the complete.
And so even the Feast of Bekurim, also known in the Book of the Law as Shavuot, is quickly coming upon us. And so, and then in the second occurrence, you have Luya.
Yep.
An occurrence that most people wouldn't see because it's translated as Lord, right?
Right.
But there's a Lamed added in front of it.
Yeah. And that's huge, that you would see that these are the teachers that go and point and direct in the way of the template. Now,
and what they do, Abed, the work that they do, right, in revealing in the hay.
So let's just look at that one first.
Incredible.
Just stop right there. So we're going to go into a verse here, and this should be fun in revealing what was shared, because in that, we've already shared before that the Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh is a template. Now we know that these firstlings are now the light of the template, right? Because that Lamed would say they are now the staff of authority that has become the intention of Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh.
Exactly. And they instruct in the way of mother and father because they have become it.
Right. So they are, whatever word you want to, so shields, guardians, protectors, mother, father, it doesn't really matter. They're simply in the resonance of light at this point because they've become the purpose of, because remember, the word for matrix and womb is directly connected to rakam.
Exactly.
Love and compassion.
Exactly. That was the other part I was going to bring up. So they have love and compassion.
So that's
so big.
It's so big, and so you can go up and show that on your file, so we can reconnect with people. They can see that because the same word for womb and matrix.
It's the same thing.
So that's the purpose. Now you would never see this in scripture. This is extrapolated
you
out.
Wouldn't.
That I had to painstakingly go and this is what I do. My tornado has to go out on either side of me beyond the lineal of the word.
Right.
And so this is what I do. And you do as well.
Yeah.
But this is my work here that we're sharing, and we're just extrapolating it out together as a team because everything is about team.
Yes.
So we know that these ones that are coming back, the purpose was always to find love and have compassion, the merciful act of because East is directly connected to mercy. The Adam Kadmon is the merciful man has arisen. Through the measure of mercy, they found love and have had compassion.
Because it's the work that they do.
And that was always the purpose of the Matrix. It got inverted and it got hijacked.
Yeah.
And then we had a alternative motive, and it lost its prime objective.
Right.
Purposely said. So now we're looking at the first offspring, right?
Yeah, but I'm just looking at it's Luya in front of it again.
I know.
And,
Exodus
and
13,
then it has Behemoth, but it has a diamond above it.
It's in this one too.
Yeah, I keep seeing it.
Yeah. Well, that's why we're doing this.
It's like, oh my gosh.
Because we need to realize that the Matrix is a movie, but the Matrix is also a potential of becoming.
Right.
You want to know how to become love and have compassion? First of all, love yourself and have compassion for yourself in the journey, because it's been painstaking in its procedure. It's been arduous in its acclamation and its ascension of becoming.
Yeah.
It's a lofty mountain. Love and compassion is a lofty mountain, but we're given the skill set and the teachings daily to implement degrees and measures of intention.
I'm laughing at this because our intention, so just bear with me here. I'm noticing that donkey, the ass, is the same gematria, right? It's the exact same gematria. So it's finding life through the bitter journey. Right? So you're a jackass first.
Right.
Before you find life, the resolve to it is to bring forth that so you have mercy and loving kindness.
Yes, and
that's
in all humor, I actually have a jackass file. We're not going to share it, but yes, I've seen that. Yes.
But it shows the process of it, right?
Right.
You find life through bitterness.
Yes, it's the bitter journey.
It's amazing.
It's the donkey, and we're going to get into this because it's the donkey that the basic concept of the donkey, and this is what Yeshua was really demonstrating.
Why he was writing in on it.
He was the burden.
Yeah.
It's the burden to bear that produces the measure of intention.
So in other words, the donkey was carrying the burden, which was going to be the Christ anointing.
The donkey was carrying the white horse.
Ah, okay. No, I get that.
So until you become the white horse, you're going to have to bear the burden of responsibility to become the intention.
So, and really, with the donkey bearing it, it's like it was given to those who are very stubborn.
Well, it's given those to break the nature
to hold it.
Right, to break the nature. The purpose of the wilderness is to really expose a nature that needs to be exposed.
Yeah.
So the expression of intention may come forth.
Right.
And the intention is to become a Merkabah, which is the same. The lily, whiteness only comes through the journey of removing obfuscation, which is the illusion of a lesser construct called ego. The nature of selfishness or the nature of vanity has to be removed to express and unfold and unveil the trueness of intention.
And that totally makes sense, because one of the things that we haven't visited is like the building process of Laban, which is frankincense,
right,
which is the word for sweet and white.
And sweet and white, but it's done through the...
So it's the lamed. added to the word ben, which means to build.
So we have the mar, we have the bitter.
Exactly, which is myrrh.
Which is myrrh, and it's the process of self-deliverance, really.
Exactly.
Self-deliverance is the process of equipping and adorning yourself with the looming journey, purposely said, through acclimation of ingathering the material to knit and to weave back together light's form.
Totally comprehend that.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So, because
it's just so amazing seeing this stuff here.
Right.
I'm like, oh my gosh.
Because you cannot have that lamed in front of Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh without, because that's already establishing that this is light's form. This is the intention.
Exactly, and it has the diamond above it, so we already know that's connected to as a gift from God, and the 144,000 is quadrated.
Right.
So incredible.
And I'm just feeling in my heart that, first of all, it is a privilege and an honor to see this, to share this in its innocence.
Absolutely.
Without having, and I just pray that other people feel the innocence of what we're sharing, without having a predetermined concept through a religious format. This is not what we want to do. We're just simply saying, oh my goodness, this is so beautiful in its innocence of intention.
Yeah.
It is so powerful. It's so liberating. It's full on the definition of what deliverance is and what freedoms are.
Exactly.
And so I just wanted to really I just feel that.
So this, as you're saying that, because I'm feeling exactly what you're saying, this in Exodus 34:19, we have the word for remember.
Yeah.
To remember.
But
that's so amazing.
And we're gonna get, so again, here we go again. We're down 4 inches on the page, and we still got like, holy crap. But that's the way it goes. But because we have to tether it back to remind people, because we're going to talk about the hippocampus here if we can get to it, hopefully. Because the hippocampus is based on the ability to remember that which you already are.
Yeah.
And this goes back into the file of, we have a head wound, and so we're having to heal a wound so we can become, the risen head. This is all Ouroboros language of, through inculcation's walk, to heal, the head arises, Adam Kadmon, to become the completed circle. It's not the spooky dragon, other than you have awoken and arisen out of the pit of shame. Through asking questions of Sheol, you've actually had the ability to remove the shades and the shadows so light may be the dominant factor of who you are.
Amen. Right? Totally agree.
Because you cannot be light and have shadow.
No. Well, that's why even in English that there is no shadow in turning.
Exactly. And so, and turning is Panah.
Right.
So the face,
to turn into
and that's
face.
why people say, well, have you seen the face of God? I see it every morning when I look at the mirror of reflection in the potential of becoming my screen, to say, I don't turn away from, I gaze at my Father face to face as He shows me the measure of intention by the reflection of His face.
Of who you are.
I can only see myself in increments and degrees depending on my willingness to enter in and having the desire in my heart to become that which was reflected back.
So it's the increments and degrees in the process of becoming the intention.
Yes. Yes. It's a beautiful picture. It is. So Panah means to turn as well as means the face. So the face is so bright that it's turned to see the reflection, but you cannot separate out face and turn. They're the same word. Right,
exactly. And then it has the hey, so it means to turn and face and be revealed.
Behold.
Behold.
Behold your face.
Behold.
Right.
You see yourself.
Right.
In your risen form.
Your first were an ass.
You were first what? An ass?
Well, yeah, but I don't mean it as a negative. It just simply was, you had to
in our ignorance.
But again,
and not knowing,
the burden of revealing the face is in the walk of inculcation.
Right.
So, behold,
right.
You're revealed by your due diligence of becoming. It's not the information, yet it is. The information is only a means to express purpose.
And it only takes place for inward formation if you do something with it.
And the same word for Panah is inward.
Right. Right. So it's always saying that mouth that is bringing revelation, because out of the heart the mouth speaks.
So let's go to a file to show.
On the spiritual path, because the noon is risen, it's not a material walk, it's on the spiritual path of life that it's going to be revealed. Out of your heart, the mouth speaks and will reveal.
Absolutely.
For those who have turned.
Go to the circle file real quick, and go to page 18. Or you can just punch in inner on your search engine, whatever you want to do, so people can see that we're not just talking conjecture.
I'll go down here. Okay, page 18.
So go up to the top of the file where you're going to see what it is, so you can see what verse we're working on real quick, and I'm just going to blow through this.
Okay.
So Numbers
18,
19. So,
okay.
And so all a heave offering, the holy things, which offer the sons of Israel to Yahweh, Lamed.
Yeah, so it would be Luya.
Okay, Luya.
Yeah.
I have given to you the sons, look at the sons, and look at the daughters.
Right. They have lameds in front of them, both of them.
I have given you the ordinances, which is the prime directive, which is the lamed.
Right, the lakak, connected to forever.
Right. The covenant of salt.
Yeah, that's the friendship covenant.
There you go.
That's an eternal friendship covenant, which is connected to Melchizedek.
Okay, so in this, I'm just making the point here.
No, got it.
Okay, so now before.
Right.
So now before, and now it's interesting in this. So this is where you can see it go up a little bit, so they can see Genesis 1-2. So because we're talking this, and I don't make a conjecture. There you go. Stop right there, so people can see.
Right.
The blue and the face. Go down a little bit, so they can see Lipene on your screen. Because they can't see my screen, there they go.
Oh, so when you say go down, I have to go up, and when you say go down, I have to go up. I have to go down.
To see that. Okay. So now they can see that that's at a lamed to face.
Right. Because there's the lamed right there, and then we have the panah.
So everything what I do, so the word in the verse, the black is below. That's in the verse. Everything is red as I've added.
Got it.
So I brought everything in to really to state a point here. But let's go down to make this point. So I find it interesting that in this verse, was over the surface of the deep. The word for
hold on just a second. I think I jumped down too far. Yeah, I did. We're good. We're good.
Okay.
All right.
So I'm just saying this, that we were the face before. And this is where I can see that we were covered. In the beginning of Genesis 1-2, was darkness was upon the face of the deep. We, at one point, were called the deep. We had the all-knowing of all. We are simply learning the fractals of all right now. But at one point, we already were the face and the hind part.
That is incredible, too, because it's the Hey Vav in the middle of Tom. Right? So the revelation on the inside of the twin covenants, that is the deep.
That is the deep.
That is the deep.
Yeah, so,
and even being called dark.
Right.
Chozek.
So we already were the face, and this is why I put this in here. I just wanted to show.
So the dark ascending as the face of the deep.
Well, yeah, the dark veil covered the illumination of those that are. So we already are. We are simply now in the measure of finding the face again, and
through the Spirit.
Through the Spirit.
Through the Ruach.
Through the straight line.
Right.
You have to become the whirlwind.
Yeah.
The spiral staircase is the whirlwind.
Right, and so we have the linear of the divine masculine and the spiral of the feminine, which creates the whirlwind.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's go down here just to show that, because now we have the surface of the deep connected to 6440, which is really the face. So let's just go down there and let's just break this. So now here's 6441 toward the inside, within. Right,
and that shows like even the Ma. What is it? And what is the inside and what is within?
Right, what is within. And so and it says right there, it's from 6440.
Right, goes back to Panah.
And now let's go to 6442. Here's the inner. So now we have an inner, which is correct. Now we have a yod. So we have an inner vision within you. So everything of what is necessary of fractals, whether in the definition, I'll use the compass, whether we say material is solely based on the fractals of mother and father. That's the material that we're gathering.
Right. Totally, yes.
Okay.
And then this is even showing on the inner side, it is the waters, it's the sea. Yod Mem is the sea, right?
We are, right. Now we're going back to the face was, the spirit was over the deep.
This is where the waters from above were separated from the waters of below.
It's within you.
exactly.
The Spirit has covered you and masked you from what you already know. Not a negative. It's simply now you're going to have to express yourself through the experience to remember that which you already are.
Hence why I was laughing when I saw that verse that the firstlings and the firstborn are those who remember. Zakar.
So let's go down a little further because now let's look at the corals. So now probably a pearl. So now this is the pearl.
So this connects even to the pearl, like in the human or gene keys.
Absolutely. This is now because because the pearl simply mean as round.
Right.
Look at you see in its own definition. The round is based on circumnavigation of straight as the way.
Right.
It's the art of the archer that becomes the archer through the process of becoming or being the arrow.
So in circumnavigating the compass, you pierce yourself in the back.
In your own flight, you struck the mark. The mark is the covenant of intention.
Right, so you're not missing it.
By the ordinance of origin, by the contract of covenant, you have circumnavigated to become the mark.
Which has to do with Yara to flow as water.
To flow as water again.
Yeah.
So it's all connected.
It is all connected. Because even the word Torah, not the way they did it in English, it is light. It's the covenant of light that is revealed.
Right. So now we're going back in.
That is being instructed in the way of flowing of water.
Right.
Yeah.
So now we're going back into the mouth here because now the pearl as round. It's now we're talking a corner language. Now we're talking about it still's the pay. Right.
Right.
So now we're going to this language of onto the corner gate. We're talking a gate language, but this is all talking about a chieftain. Now this chieftain is the same. We're going back to the prime directive, the prime order. This is the face of God, which is the prime order, is the face of God.
Right.
Because it's going to Panah, to turn. So there's the word turn.
Yes.
Right? It's the preparation. Right? It's the reverence to enter right standing to become the face of God again.
Right. There's the Penuel. This is that's why I said that earlier, that there was a verse that had Penuel in it.
Right.
And there's the word right there.
There you go.
And it's pan. So one who is connected, right? It's got the vav in there.
Right. You're connected within with it. There's a vision and a means. Power means in the compass. The yod. So the
yod is the power in order to connect. The yod comes first as a vision.
The yod, in what I'm sharing, yes, and. The yod is the hand that holds the compass. Within you is already the ability to self-navigate through ordinances.
Right.
Orienteering.
Self-adjudication.
That's already saying, go east.
Right.
Orienteering is based on, so
orient.
There's an order within. There's already an ordinance that speaks the language of east, but you're going to have to circumnavigate from the west to go righteous south to become a risen Adam Kadmon, so you can be revealed as the hidden.
Right.
The north.
Yep. Totally.
So the yod is the smallest. It's called the hand.
Yes.
The hand is the power, means, and direction to point you by vision in the right direction.
That is so amazing.
Okay.
So in connecting to that, this is one who has taken the power of the hand, has actually fully connected it, and it was revealed as ALEPH TAV, strong leader teaching shepherds as the face of God.
So now you're the mouth of God. The face and the mouth are connected
because
now.
You have the authority to speak it.
You are now
because you became it.
Etched as a circle back in Job, and he etched a circle on the waters.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So within you is already a circle.
You just need to find it.
Straight as your way.
Exactly.
Okay. So let's go back. I just want to show people the face, and so how it's connected to the pearl, the face, the mouth, the completion. Paniel, the face of God, will speak the revelation of the Godhead through the journey of process.
To your path of divinity.
Through the donkey, through the burden.
Right.
You have lifted up the weight of responsibility. You've gone through the process of really ingesting, conceiving. You've conceived the measure of intention. You've carried the burden of weight to birth that which is the intention.
And that's interesting because that even connects the word choma and heat, because that has to do with the process of generating the vision within first so that you can birth something new. That is chom, het mem is connected to racham. It's literally held within that word.
This is progeny.
The heat that is produced by those who are going to be leading in having loving kindness and mercy.
Right, compassion.
And compassion.
Rakam.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
That is birthing the new man.
Right. This is all.
The new leaders.
This is the spiritual piercing that produces progeny.
Exactly.
What we are doing is we're sharing from our burden of responsibility, because this is a responsibility to become.
Right.
We're sharing from our responsibility the act of compassion by sharing our burden to birth another. That's what mother. That's what mother does.
Right.
Okay. So let's move down. There's much in here, but let's go into the verse which I wanted to get to. So. We see that in this, back to that one, perfect. So we know that in this Peter, that's what separates or first opens, that these are the firstlings.
So I gotta go back up here.
No, you gotta go back down.
Okay. Oh, after all of those.
So right here.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, got it.
So we have an A, a B that connect to Peter, the firstlings.
Right.
And that which separates or first opens, that's what separates what first opens, to cleave or to burst forth. This is all based off of Firstfruits, where we even get the first river, Panah, right?
Is it the Pishon?
The Pishon.
Yep.
Panah. Yep. To bust forth, right?
Yep.
Right. So okay, so we have that. So now let's go into this verse. Let's just we'll spend some time, but I don't even know how far. I would like to get into the hippocampus because it's so crucial. But we'll get where we get. That's all we can do. So what is your perspective as you've given the love of light of peace? Give in light and love of peace. So we give love and peace. Now This is exactly what I put this up there as a title because this is talking about David giving to Solomon. David is love. And he gave
beloved,
he gave. So love gave peace. The template of peace.
Yeah.
So love and compassion, rakom, is love and compassion. So in this verse, even though in the black and white, let's just read through it. Let's just read through the English, and then we'll come back to the top.
So the mechanical translation.
Just the mechanical translation.
And gave David, Solomon, and gave David Solomon, his son, the plans for the vestibule.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of vestibule. You can tell we got some work to do.
Okay. We're getting there. And
yeah, I know there's a lot of vestibule. You can tell we got some work to do. We're getting there. And
its houses and its treasuries. Doesn't look like we're done yet. And its upper chambers. And its chambers, interesting. Inner.
The face.
And the place of the mercy seat. Whoa! I can see where this is heading. Jeez Louise.
Yeah, we probably won't get past this on this teaching. But...
Oh, I'm sure not.
Okay, so that's it. That's the completed cover. Okay, so back to the top. Let's just run through this as clean and as efficient as we can. So, feel free without
without doing too many side
because
steps. Right.
As you well know, we can make this a full-blown seminar in 3 days.
Totally.
We could take this and
totally.
Because
just one word.
Because we know that width and breadth is connected to height and depth.
Mm-hmm.
Because we are the deep, we're simply expressing fractals of ourselves through a measure. But make no mistake, this is connected to all.
Exactly.
Okay. So with that,
we're just giving a fractal of
so
it right
gave.
now.
So we have the word gave.
And the fact that the noon is missing out of it, right? Because if the root is natan and the noon is missing, we know that this. Because one noon is missing, it means this is a highly spiritual matter.
Message. Right.
Totally.
So this is why I say that, because I can remove now the connection between David as a man and Solomon as a man. I can now extrapolate their measure of what their name is now resonating to.
Right. The frequency of the message that's being presented.
Beloved, become shalom.
Shalom. Yeah. Beloved. Yeah. Become peace.
Right. So given. So what was given was a spiritual message.
And it was through the twin visions.
It was given as love. Right.
Because this is mother's vision and father's vision that have become one. And you just explained that's the hand that holds the compass.
That's the hand that holds the compass. You cannot get to father without...
To become the Tan, to become the dragon, which a dragon is known as wisdom.
Yep. 10. is tanin, or tan is the dragon.
The tanina of Aramaic.
So you could actually say from this language, humility's vision is really given by a dragon.
And to become.
And to become, right?
Yes.
Because you're becoming now tan is simply, we're not saying don't get locked on the picture of a dragon.
No, it's the frequency.
The tannin is why they draw the Ouroboros as a snake eating its own tail. It's a dragon. It's a water dragon.
Right. And water and fire.
Tan
both.
is the same word, even though it's a dragon. It means you've elevated out of the pit of shame,
yes.
of the Sheol,
yes.
to become the completed circle.
Yes.
Tan.
Yes.
Right? Mm-hmm. You are now love, right?
Yes.
You're completed love. In
the covenant you've been marked with.
Right. So just to make sure that people don't because soon as, again, we're programmed to see a picture of a dragon.
I know, and we've got those English words in the book of Revelation.
We're going to get into this a little further because we're going to talk about the cockatrice, of what that word means. It means that really we're talking about Quetzalcoatl.
Right.
It means you through the dimension of black and white, you have become colored.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because Quetzalcoatl, it's just, you're very vibrant in your expression now because your wings are now of light.
Right.
So, anyways.
So, in giving of this, then we have the beloved.
Beloved. David. Right.
Dawid.
And we have now a Yod in Dawid. So now, beloved is within you as or a way of orienteering. Its direction is within you. Love is within you.
Exactly. You have the power within.
Right.
And it's saying, connect to it.
Connect
to the power within you. Because there's two doors that are the same. Mm-hmm. So this is really the covenant of the pieces.
Absolutely.
So this is the inside of this is the seraphic message that is telling you this message will give you power.
Right. This message will give you power. So now love will be your teacher to peace.
Exactly.
Look at Shalom.
Yeah.
Out of Lamed. So now...
Friend, I love that.
So now this works back and forth because peace can be your teacher to love, and love can also be the teacher to peace. It goes because they go both ways.
Exactly.
Because it's connected in this to say, while David and Solomon are connected as father and son.
Right. Which
so love as the father is sharing the teachings of peace to the son.
Right. So Eben, Aleph Bemnun, means a stone.
Right.
Laban, the white stone.
Right.
Lamed in front of Eben.
Absolutely.
Which is the frankincense.
Absolutely.
The sweet of the teachings. And it's interesting that right in Solomon's name, it's like David is teaching Solomon right here.
So that's why
the instruction of Solomon. I love that.
Love is teaching peace.
Yeah, exactly. Because the Lamed is added.
So when we say that, we have to remember too. So what we're doing, what we just did is like, my tornado wants to go spirit. Carrie's just brought it back to, not back to, but she's shedding light on that it's a construct lineal that David and Solomon are actually entities that were patriarchs of the past. But yet in the expression of father, the tornado wants to say this is only a spiritual connotation. This is
for our now.
For our now.
So what we're doing is we're bringing it quantumly into a quantum now, where everything is now.
We're weaving a present.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
That directly connects to our future.
Yep.
So yes, David is talking to Solomon, but also love speaks as peace.
Exactly. And when we were talking about too that even in the instructing in the word peace itself, you have water and fire.
Absolutely.
Right?
Has to be.
Fire instructs in the way of water. Like they're connected, all in light, because that's Shem. It's the word Shem that has a Lamed in the middle.
Mm-hmm. So let's keep on track. So
that's amazing.
So now let's look at his son so we can get through this a little bit. So now his son is got evolved. So now love has spoken to peace.
Yes.
His son now is arisen in meekness.
Exactly. So this is power under control.
This is power and control.
So this is a spiritual, taking the spiritual path will allow you to connect to Father in meekness.
Right. So and you would never see this. You would you would never see this in English, and B, you wouldn't even see this in Hebrew unless you had the knowing of what the root word was to connect it, right? Because you would say, why would there be a vav connected to the suffix of this? So we see a father component of this. So meekness is now established through love's shalom, right?
This is the process of building, because Panah, the root of Ben, son, means to build.
To build family. This is
yes.
family. Love and peace is humbly arising into the nature of meekness. This qualifies as family, and is directly connected to the ALEPH TAV.
And I love the fact that the ALEPH TAV has got a dash, a connective dash to plans.
Plans, Tabnith.
Tabnith, which we've shared in great deal about that in the Letters of the Deep, about how important the pattern and the blueprint is.
Right. Well, we have twin TAVs.
Connected to the language.
Well, look what we just did. So, now, look at Tabnith. We have TAVs on the prefix and the suffix, and now we have the exact same word for what we just broke down as really the vision of sonship.
Exactly, because it's right here.
So David gave Solomon in the lesser narrative the template to build sonship, which is the pattern of the temple.
Yes, which we know that we are the third temple.
Right.
And this is a son that's been given power.
So
a son that is given power because the son gives. So
he gave him the plans. Now the plans, because it has the yod and the vav isn't there, because that vav is really in search of the that yod is in search of a vav.
Exactly.
So it's the hand, again, the compass, that's pointing to the establishment of completion, right? So we have now that David is saying, and then we have to remember here, we can't get tunnel vision into what this is really in its verse. So I want to expand out. Here goes my tornado. The template of the tabernacle is a Merkabah. It's an earthly representation of whether you want to call it the white horse, whether you want to call it a Merkabah, whether you want to call it
chariot throne of the cherubim,
whether you want to call it
Ezekiel's wheels upon wheels,
the Sephirot,
right,
the tree back in the garden, the completed compass. It all says
Adam Kadmon.
It is simply a representation of an earthly construct that is determining an order of intention to become light.
Exactly.
Okay.
Agreed.
Okay. So we broaden that.
So now my
tornado comes back to center.
Right. So this is the plans of building that.
This is the plans of building this.
What you just said.
Right. So we got it. So I'm just trying to give expression to, I know there's people that listen to this. We have good friends. I'm thinking one in particular that she is a tornado herself and she sees the tornado wind.
Right.
But there's people that are held to the construct of word and they're going, I don't comprehend that. That's the difference between word and spirit.
Right.
And so you and I am word and spirit, you're word and spirit. I'm more dominant tornado spirit, you're more dominant word, but together we make an amazing team because we're able to work together in harmony to express, to assist. So when I sit by myself, I have to, but again, we've been in this for long enough now that we've really stewarded what we're showing, and so now it's working hand in hand. My right hand is catching up to my left as my left is assisting my right.
Exactly.
Because that's mother and father working together within me. So we are both an expression of mother and father in uniqueness of totality based on summational measure, and we come together for the purpose of many. Mm-hmm. So this is now the plans to build family, right? Because Panah is directly connected to family.
Right, it is.
Because we know.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so now, again, the black and the white is what the verse says. All the color, I'm breaking it down to how it connects. So it's my expanse to share revelation. So now we have the plans that are given. Now we have the vestibule. And all of Vav Lamed Mem.
Which, just the way it's written, how incredible. It's Ul.
It's Ul. Right.
Ul is and that is to be strong in the body. This is the root of when you chase God.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, El to Ayil to Ul.
Right, absolutely. This would be right up.
And so Hey Mem is in the likeness of Ul.
This is mighty. You're becoming mighty.
Right, but Hey Mem means in the likeness.
Right, similitude.
So, how amazing is that?
So we need to, because we're talking about the vestibule. I have to break this down because we can blow by this without really, we're building something. So David, again, love gave peace the plans, gave the son the plans to build. Through the ALEPH TAV,
right.
The plans are given. So we have Tav, son, here's your name is right in Tabnith. It's the direction, the power, and the means of the compass to orienteer to become the risen Vav, because I need to establish, son, a Vav in you to call you completed, so you're connected as heaven and earth, above and below, within, without.
Totally see that.
So now these plans...
So that you can be mighty and have strength. Ooh.
So let's look at vestibule a little bit just to break this down. So this is the revelation of approach, because the vestibule is attached to the building as a protocol, right? It's a protocol of approach that allows you to enter into the measure of intention.
Right, totally get that. So through the spirit breath, if you connect to it into your heart, it will instruct you so that you can enter into the waters of above.
Absolutely.
Shalom.
So you have to enter in now in the wilderness tabernacle or Solomon's tabernacle, or at least the blueprint
of the temple, right?
It's saying to enter in to become this measure, there is a protocol to become it.
And you've always said that, the protocol to approach. You've been saying that for years.
Right. And it's directly connected to the mouth.
Right.
Because the approach is solely based off of your ability to speak that which is.
Correct.
Right? I only speak as it, or...
And you're saying that also because we were talking about Panah. The pay is there.
That's
and
exactly
pay is
why
a representation of the mouth. So for people who don't know that.
Absolutely.
The letter pay.
Your binding and loosening is solely dependent on your approach to that which is.
Right. That just brought in more scriptures.
Right. So if I'm solely dependent on my becoming the tabernacle, the wilderness, or Solomon's temple,
right,
the Merkabah, dependent upon my approach of inculcation to become the intention of the completed version, the Merkabah, the temple itself.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Degrees and measures make the full intention.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
South, east, north, right?
West.
Through the journey of west. Okay. Yep. Okay. So now we have this word back porch, 1300s, covered entrance, roof structure, usually open from side to side before an entrance of a building, right? Walking between columns.
Very interesting.
So now we have Boaz
and Joachim.
And Joachim. So, and we have the language in here where we're talking about a journey of mother and father, where the established is done through, right, the measure of right. Joachim is really the measure of right. Boaz is the establishment of. You're completely built.
Well, and building strength. Ots.
Right.
Right.
It's might.
Right.
Oz.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So now the approach is solely dependent upon walking between the vestibule of mother and father.
Exactly.
Because you are becoming as the likeness or the similitude of that which you enter through. That's because that's mother and father. They're saying to be this, you're going to have
So in other words, you have to cross over and through.
And we've already said that's connected to an order, a prime order or a prime directive.
Right, and that's also the word Eber.
Right.
Right? Eber, Hebrew, the word for Hebrew, the Aleph Bayit, Ivri.
Right.
Is that word, and it has a yod on the end of it, Ivri, to cross over with power.
To become water, which we already were, to become living water again, there is a law of water, and it's called Torah. To become and flow as the water, you're going to have to enter the way of water.
Exactly.
And so
the living water, teachings of mother and father.
So this is where Torah comes in, because really the root of Torah is yara, and it means to flow as water. And so
to point, aim, shoot, teach.
Right. So law is not bad.
No.
Law is something that binds something to its intention. It holds it fast to the mandate of its purpose. That's law.
Which again, and if you look at it phonetically, it's the covenant of light that is revealed.
Light beholds light, and light is a law that makes light light. Without that, then there would be a taint to light.
And it became tainted because the alpha bet diminished it.
Right. So we are giving an order of measure that's calibrated to light through incremental ingathering to become light again. It's the law of the ALEPH TAV.
Right, and without having the oral tradition how to read the ALEPH TAV, it's going to be a surface translation, and you're going to miss all the deep water.
Absolutely, because that's the law of water. To flow as water, you're going to have to journey as water.
Yep.
And so it's the law. It's navigational law. It's the law of the Shemayim. It's why we have a law
through orienteering.
Right, and you can do your own research on this, and everyone else can, because it's why we have really the law of the sea. in our Americanized, because it's really, it's a whole different law. The law of the sea is a whole different
Right.
study than the law of the land.
In other words, maritime law.
Maritime law.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Got it.
That's a whole other topic.
Yep.
So let's go into this. So we have this Proto-Indo-European, which is really which is the root. It means to pass over.
Yep. Right there.
So again, but I'll say this for the purpose of inculcation, that entering the protocol of approach is solely based on the ability to humbly bow your head and lift your feet over the vestibule, over the mantle, over the threshold, to enter into Mother, into the covenant of promise.
Yep, because that's what the threshold covenant is all about.
So that is part of the legal language of becoming.
And that's the covenant of promise is directly connected to the promise of the firstborn. So that ties into what we were talking at the very beginning.
Love, Rakom,
yes,
of the
firstlings.
The firstlings.
It's a double portion.
It's a double portion. Okay, great. And again, we could linger and we could share a lot on this and just like blah blah blah, but we need to move through this because we're going. So now this vestibule, a porch, and there's a point I'm getting to on this, because really a rostrum is the name of a platform or a stand, and it's directly connected to an approach. It's directly connected to a vestibule, and it's like it's the ability to really. It comes from many. Well, let's read its definition instead of me just telling what it is. It's actually the beak of a bird. It's also the front. It's a prow of a ship. It's literally a beak, a muzzle, a snout. Originally, an instrument to gnaw. Possibly the root red, which is really interesting because that would be Adam.
It would be connected to Adam, but also to mankind.
To scrape and to scratch, which goes right back into what the potsherd, which is directly connected to the east gate, which is directly connected to the sun.
Okay.
Okay.
I also think it's interesting. It's a platform stand for public speakers.
Absolutely. And so now my point of this, if you go down a little bit further, so we can see this is the prow. Stop right there.
That's usually what's in front of every church, the podium that the pastor stands in front of.
So this is the approach. Right. Your approach is to becoming is solely based on your ability to share that which you become.
This is like a picture of what the lamed represents.
Absolutely would be. Go down to the next picture.
Because lamed means authority
this is
and staff.
The rostrum is the beak of the bird. This would be Thoth.
Got it.
So Thoth,
Tav, Vav, Tav.
Tav, and which really means truth, begot truth.
Right.
Or verily, verily.
Right. Amen, amen.
Amen, amen.
Yes.
Thoth is the same. Now we're not going to go.
No, that totally makes sense. That totally makes sense.
So I can again. That's another topic.
Yeah.
We'll get to that. We're coming on the malevolent and the benevolent file. We're going to express this a little further. But that's why Thoth was really etched this way in time. Is it was saying that he was a teacher, verily, verily, of truth and truth. The prefix of Mother's Truth really kept him centered and rounded in Father's Truth, and he was going around speaking as a rostrum from the prow of his mouth. He was able to speak truth.
Exactly,
verily,
because
verily,
he
I
had
speak to you.
Wisdom, which means he would have been connected also to the dragon.
Absolutely. So that's exactly what we're seeing here, and so we can look at this word, a stage, right? A public platform, speakers stand to address an audience.
A conductor stand. Mm-hmm. How interesting, conductor. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm thinking of like Scent of the Rose, even though it's a different conductor, but just connecting dots. Mm-hmm.
So this is really big. So this is the approach. This is because becoming is dependent on your ability to share that which you become. And so the protocol to approach is based on your ability to share what you're becoming.
Right. So in other words, learn, teach, learn.
Absolutely. And that's what Thoth was doing. He
Yes.
says, I am mother and father,
Yes.
and I teach in the ways of mother and father.
To bring forth wisdom.
And I'm able to discern what is necessary. Father's message is lofty, therefore I'm able to discern, to dole out in drips and drops through distillation the measure of mother that gently points the way to father.
Right.
I am the Yod and the Vav of revelation.
I totally agree. Amen.
Okay, so now we're going down to this word migdal, a tower. Analogy, a rostrum. Well, you can't see it. The reason I put it in this. There you go.
Ah.
So now we see a rostrum and why it's connected. So now we have Migdala or Madgalah,
right,
which is connected to a rostrum.
Right. So even looking at Mary of Magdala,
Mm-hmm.
Miriam of Magdala.
Right.
Well, isn't it interesting that Miriam is actually Mayim with a resh in the middle? Miriam?
Right.
It'd be Mayim, the living waters that raise you up from being poor and destitute on the inside to be a leader.
Right.
And then as a tower.
Right. Fort Gadal. And so now we have a mighty tower. We have really a tower. Now this is based off of ascension, right, from its size and height. And even in its own definition, right, mother's humble journey, right, has allowed you to enter in as a teacher.
Right, because you've had to gather and assemble the instructions.
Maturation.
To take you from Dal, being weak, feeble, lean, and a poor man, in order to become a tower.
A tower. And
through the instructions.
Right. And this is a rampart.
And Dal also means dangling. So if it's a dangling, it means there's something that needs to be connected to make it solidified.
Right.
Yod Vav.
And this is interesting because, and I'll say this while we're right here, the dangling part is directly connected to the amygdala. It's because the amygdala, part of the amygdala.
So now you're talking about the brain.
Now
so
we're
people,
talking,
if they don't know what the amygdala is.
Because the face and mother and father is within you. You are heaven on earth.
Right, pineal.
Right.
Pineal gland.
So the face
amygdala.
of God is solely dependent on your ability to remember, hippocampus.
Right.
But we're talking about that which dangles because the tower is within you.
Right.
And so we have the connection of the brain-heart coherence that allows it to become an established matter.
So in other words, taking the vision and then connecting to it, the heart and the brain together.
And
Vav.
Right. And we're going to see why, because when we'll go into the brain a little bit further on here about why the dangling of really the amygdala, which is really defined as the almond branch, and we're going to go into that, but it dangles. So the tower within you is actually a language of becoming, really connecting heaven on earth. Your heart has to connect to your brain. Your brain needs to connect to your heart. You need to activate through the power, means, and directions of that which you touch and that how you walk to become the measure of intention. You are the tower in the earth.
Yes, so that you need to be the leader of your own amygdala.
Right, and from that tower, we call forth from the rampart others to come to become a tower.
Exactly. To raise them up from their poor and destitute position.
Right. This is
to come up.
There's
higher.
A lot in this. I get but okay. So let's move. We'll express this a little bit further.
Okay. So now going back to David.
Right.
Beloved, coming to peace to build.
Right, because I'm a tornado and I just went sideways.
I know you did. I know you did. So coming back to this, center, to bring this back into center, we were given the blueprint patterns of the mother and the father.
Right.
Right?
And so I just want to elaborate on what you just said, though, too. A tornado cannot just be a whirlwind. It needs to know how to find center again.
Absolutely, because that's when you're in the eye
of the
storm, which is where there is peace.
That's the shalom. So,
exactly.
So I want to share that
Solomon's
with people
name.
That this is why spirit and word has a difficulty of connecting, because we don't have the ability to bring it back to center, to be the eye of the storm, to be centered, to have calm. This is where we see immaturity, and I don't mean that as
I just call it spiritual adolescence. It means we're still in the maturation process.
We're in the maturation process, but I'm just saying it so we can learn that if we want to connect with people, it's okay to go broad and wide, but we have to be able to bring it back in to connect the point of center.
Exactly, totally comprehend
So
that.
I just want to make sure we don't lose that point. Because
so where we left off when we were talking about this was the vestibule.
The vestibule.
And they were talking about in the likeness of the strong body that is powerful, because that's what ul is.
Right.
And hey mem is in the likeness of.
Yes.
Right? And through the instruction. And then this brings us now again to the ALEPH TAV.
And remember, so back in the vestibule too, did you just say the added hey?
Yeah, hey mem.
Okay, so your
the
hey,
revealing of the likeness of.
Well, but and the vestibule with an added hey here, it really adds more solidifies that the revelation is directly connected to the vestibule.
Right, and it's the spirit breath. It's
Right.
the revelation of the oneness of the vestibule, the
Right.
protocol
so with
to
that
approach.
with that prefixual hey on there,
Yes.
it's saying that behold, your revelation to approach is directly connected in the revelation of mother.
And something that I discovered here recently with Klein, whenever there's a hey on the prefix, it means it has to do with a noun and it has to do with singular, meaning an individual. It's individuation. So again, that makes sense because mother's revelation is about you as an individual. The hey on the suffix is collective.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So the one as the many is got to first start with you. So that hey is mother saying, this is a revelation about you as an individual.
Subjective versus objective.
Yeah, you have to subject yourself to the objective, so you become the objective, so you can subjectively see the objective. I mean, again, that's round and round again.
I know, but it makes sense
Right.
if you comprehend it. So mother is revealing the individuality of you to say, look, this is about you.
Absolutely, and
then it affects the collective.
And in that word vestibule, we also see God's in that.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
That's
right.
ul,
Right.
which is the foundation of the word God.
Yeah, all of it's connected to the teacher by the surrounding waters of revelation. So, because that word is allowed to, it loops. It has to be able to loop as a circle itself to point. Beginning points to end as end points to beginning in the word. So, it should.
As the circle is round, there is no beginning or end.
All these words, you should be able to read the backwards and forward, and it should express
saying
itself.
The same thing.
Yeah, it just fills itself up through revelation. Okay, so the rostrum, thought.
We already did all of that.
Done that. So now David's giving peace through the
instructions.
He's showing us there's an instruction to become a completed son, and
through
son
the vestibule.
Does not diminish daughter because the completed son is really called daughter because of the tav. She's now called love. So okay, so now we're down here. And we say,
so we have the ALEPH TAV again.
So now we have.
So connect to mother in humility through the language, the ALEPH through the TAV that is now connected to the Bet TAV, which you were just leading to.
So the vestibule of revelation connects you to the Bet TAV. So now you have a Batah. So the vestibule is your connection, the ability to speak that which you know, or that through the revelation what you're learning allows you to enter in to humility to connect as the completed house.
Right. And because this is Bet TAV, we already know that this is the word for daughter. So we just showed the process of the son becoming the daughter. And Bet TAV we know is the second letter and the 22nd letter. This is the path of the 222 that we've talked about repeatedly. But this also, Bet TAV means worthy and deserving.
Absolutely.
And so having the power given from Father because they're walking in meekness. So within these two words, we have humility and meekness.
Yeah.
Right? We have humility and meekness here.
Absolutely. And in this, the Bet Tav, because it is completion and the house is based on a template, and the template is based off of Yod He Vav He, this daughter, that you can't see it, but it's actually because you cannot be this without the revelation. So there's the Vav.
Oh, so it would be Batah.
Right. So this, with this, by this measure, it's
Isn't that the ark?
This is saying that you are the Yod Vav of He, of revelation.
Right.
That's the daughter's measure.
Which is the ark.
Which is the ark. Which is exactly the Merkabah.
Exactly.
Right. Because the
Batah, the box, the ark of the becoming, the ark of the testimony.
The ark, the tabernacle,
Wow.
that you're the furniture within,
Right.
is within the outer structure of becoming. So
Right.
in our means to purpose, we are all of it. We're the furniture.
Yes, we are.
Forgive me, Father, for rearranging the furniture on my own dictates.
Right.
I surrender to the order of intention. I bow to that which I do not know.
To reorder it.
My intention is to become ordered as you are ordered, holy as you are holy.
Exactly, too, because we came in through the waters of chaos. So having chaos on the inside is now being dealt with through love and peace and through the building pattern. So it's now reordered.
And this is why even the world, where they say out of chaos comes order, but yet they only use it as in the inversion. They project it outwardly as they're trying to take the masses into that which they cannot do individually.
Exactly, because we have to do it.
Narcissism would say, let's do this and we'll call it this, but they don't have the fortitude to do it themselves, to say war and chaos is an inward revelation that produces
manifests
order, right? It's the chaotic waters that allows you to find shalom.
Right, because it's the catalyst.
Right, this is the catalyst.
It's the catalyst that's needing the resolve, which is order.
So now we have this word, that this is the treasury now. Now we have the treasury.
And this is interesting because this is another word than the ones that you had been sharing before about the treasury.
Right.
This is just another word of it.
There's only one occurrence of this, and it's in this verse.
Wow.
This word for treasury, there it is. And how interesting, right? Because it's Gimel Nun Zayin. Is that a cough?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kaf Yod. This is incredible. Because this is one who is gathered through the spiritual path, who has gone the way of the sword and the plow.
Branded.
Right? That grasp, because the Kaf Yod is a brandishing or a burnishing, but they grasp a hold of the power and they're in meekness. This is the part that the foolish do not have. They do not have the connection to Father in meekness. They refuse it.
Right.
Because instead of a Vav, it's a fallen noon.
So now this is power.
This is big.
This is power and meekness in control. This is now a treasure room.
Humility and meekness. Yep.
So we have it, and then we have this breakdown, perhaps a chest, and so we can take that language and again, it's just there as to fill in what's already being said. And I always find it interesting to add things to bring them in.
Oh yeah.
So now we have and its upper chambers. And now we have Aliyah.
Oh, Aliyah is them going back to the homeland.
Go down so people can see that.
Law of return.
Law of return.
That's right.
So now we have something that's built through the protocols of approach. We've entered in through between the pillars of mother and father, through the right and the left. We enter between the pieces to put the pieces back together. Hemispherically, we have woven our right and left brain back together as one.
Through the divine masculine and the feminine.
The above and the below, the within, without is now in the formation of intention. Through information, we are forming one measure.
From the past to the future to our now.
We're making a completed circle through orienteering. We're finding our way back east through love's measure to be called peace.
Exactly.
Shalom.
Exactly.
And there's a way to return.
Because it's through the process of ascension.
Through the process of ascension. Aliyah. This is now the lofty chamber. Now, this is also the stairway.
Exactly.
Right?
Which then again breeds to ascension.
Now we're talking
in steps.
Well, look at
in increments.
This is the sky. This is a roof chamber. We're talking, and this by definition of the oral law is Israel's law of return, the legal right to assist to immigrate back to the land now, or into citizenship.
But it's interesting because they have taken it in the natural, and hence we've got war going on right now with the Palestinians, right? But it was never meant to be that way.
No,
it was meant to be a spiritual ascension process in the law of return back to our higher estate.
The spiral staircase is within you. The law of return is in you if there's a willingness to subject yourself to the objective lesson.
Which is the increasing of our consciousness. Why, again, it's important that you're bringing in the brain.
Right.
Because that's where heaven is.
Right.
Totally am connecting to that.
So this
and again, so what we're saying, right, even through the word of Aliyah, right? We have Yod Tav Yod.
Right.
But this is a triple Yod.
Right.
Which is meant to have a triple Vav.
Right.
Right? 666. That's meant to be flipped to the 999.
Right.
Like, that is so powerful.
It is.
Because the covenant of the peace is walking between those, gives us the covenant that allows us to ascend.
This is
from the inside.
in its own definition. This is the lofty chamber.
Absolutely.
Like there is the holy, then there's the holy
Holy of Holies. Yeah.
And so this is the lofty chamber. Well, you cannot get there without.
Which is the place of the heart, and actually, it's heart-brain coherence.
Right.
Yeah.
So a lot in this word. A lot in this word. So anyway, so the upper chambers.
Yep.
And its chambers.
Right, so it's the upper chambers and its chambers.
Well, and it's interesting because usually we have an upper chamber. No, we can even connect this. I can even connect this.
Hold the door, hold the door.
That the innermost, because this is now, we're talking heart language, because in this language we're talking about the innermost part, right? And it's interesting, and we're talking about the circle to enclose to encompass.
Yeah.
Hador.
Right.
To surround, to enclose. Now, without going into the definition, because I can go into the definition of the circle, by analogy, right, you've entered, right, the privy chambers.
And when just looking at the most powerful, the point here is connecting to mother and father in humility and meekness, because you found life. Chava, chet is finding Chava, finding the mother of all living. Because you went through the door of the inner man that delivered you from your weak and feeble position and raised you up from being poor and destitute to be a first fruit.
Right.
That now has power.
Right.
Given by the Father.
Right.
And its meekness, power under control.
Right.
So, again, the process, the blueprint is right here.
Right.
So again, now in this word, we have the covenant of the pieces one more time.
Yes.
Right? Because we had Yod Tov Yod, now we have Yod Mem Yod.
Right.
And this is connecting us to the seas.
The Mayim.
The Mayim, but also Queen of Heaven.
Right.
And being that face and revealed as that. Yeah. Individually, this is about you.
This is about you.
This is about you.
It's all within you. You were just, it's speaking like this is all within you. This is all the inner works. This is your interior.
Hence why this is a mature message, because the immature and spiritual adolescents would not understand this concept.
Right.
Because they're on the outward manifestation of orienteering to just be able to navigate with people and having reverence for God.
Right.
Not realizing the inward journey yet.
Right. Yeah, it's
so again, so David speaking to Solomon in frequency is telling you, now we're going to build you from the inside.
Yes.
Taking the outside and the inside and bringing inward.
This is what a Melech would do to raise an heir.
And Melech being king and queen.
King David would be Melech, raising his heir to steward the kingdom, which is only a construct of a reality solely based off of what is taught you. So kingdom is, yes, it's a world concept, but it's a heavenly mandate.
Because it's the kingdom within.
It's the kingdom within you. And a good rule and reign raises not by oppression, it undergirds and raises through representation.
Absolutely.
Okay. So this is the innermost place. This is, now we're going back to the face. We've already broken that down.
We already talked about the face.
Right. So, and there it is again in the first occurrence.
The interior.
So this is the surface of the deep. So you're covered in the surface, but make no mistake, you are the deep. You're the pay. You're the mouth of the deep.
So in other words, we are ascending out of the deep.
As the dragon.
Exactly.
As the locust.
Right.
And we're going to go into this here real quick.
That have loving kindness and mercy.
Right. So now this is the place. Now we have...
Through the Spirit.
Now we have Ubet. Right? So now we have, right, the Vav established. Now we have humility.
And we know that this is idiom for the temple. The Bayit is the temple.
Right, absolutely. Right. So now you are the humble temple.
Yes.
Okay.
So in other words, as the temple you are walking in humility.
Right.
As mother.
Right. And so now we have a place of mercy. And so now we have established something that was built and is directly connected to mercy.
Yes.
And the merciful act of intention is directly connected to the east, because mercy is part of the word for being pious. And this is the risen man. We'll get into this not right now, but this is the merciful act of, really, we're time traveling, and we've been granted mercy to become the completed circle. And so as time travelers, I highly recommend that we use our time wisely to seek that intention or the mandate of order to become established as the order.
So in other words, redeem your time.
Redeem your time. Yes.
And again, so I'm sure you broke this down about covering.
Yes, we're gonna go.
Okay.
We're gonna go into it. So yeah.
So in looking at this again, the revelation on Mother's side is saying this has to do with you
Yes.
individually.
There is
This
nothing
is being
about
revealed
this.
to you.
There's nothing about this verse that isn't about you.
Right.
And I know you know that. I'm just saying that.
But through inculcation, it's good to keep saying
Yes.
that, because if we take it on the exterior, it's like you started at the very beginning, looking as it instead of at it.
Right. That's why I said it over and over again.
Inculcation.
So, but again, we need to remind people along because we can look.
Well, it reminds us.
Well, absolutely. That's the reason I do that, is because
Right.
we end up staring at it as a screen, like, "Wow, isn't this cool?" Like, oh, well, don't forget, it's you.
Right.
It's a mirror.
Right.
The potential is in the mirror,
Of how you see.
dependent upon your ability to assess to see.
Exactly.
The measure is becoming is solely dependent upon the willingness to become the measure, that which you're able to partner with. Here's
Right.
the template, son.
Right.
Become it.
Exactly.
I am love.
And so in this very last word, it's about just looking at the word. Grasp a hold of the fruit.
Right.
Grasp a hold of the fruit.
Right.
Because it's the mouth that is breathing the revelation, and it's two mouths that have come together as one, that are speaking to you so you can be raised up to be a first fruit leader. But you have to grasp a hold of the fruit. See, this is the difference between the wise and foolish. Foolish are grasping a hold of the power. David's saying, Solomon, you have been given much. You need to grasp a hold of the fruit.
Absolutely. And we also need to remember, mercy.
Become the fruit.
Mercy is covering the ark.
Right.
You are the Merkabah.
Right.
Mercy is your covering.
Totally see that.
Right?
Yep.
So look at the word for what it is, the revelation of grasping this, to be able to speak this. You're living in the place of compassion and love through becoming peaceful,
Yes.
right? You're now, through the act of the burden of responsibility of the journey of the donkey, you become the white horse.
Yes.
The Father says, through Mother, you are now completed as Father. Mercy is your covering.
And that makes sense, because even in the word Solomon, Shlomo, it shows that the heart is pierced.
And
So in other words, you found peace within.
Right. This is the place of pure gold, to the journey of silver. This is the part of the alchemist's journey. It's got nothing to do with personal wealth other than the resources of the Shemayim. But you are becoming pure intention.
Right. The gold that's been purified.
Right.
Tahar.
So let's break this down. Oopsie.
That's interesting, because again, we've seen this. This was one of the first words we looked at. Tahor, the purity and innocence scroll, right?
Right.
So it's wrestling with the mountain until you become pierced within.
Right.
And that makes you pure. That's why to whom is pure, everything is pure.
Yeah.
Everything is seen as pure.
Yeah, you cannot reach the... It's funny, because I was just watching on Everest, and this journey of ascending the mountain, and people just have the desire to climb the top of the mountain, and
Many perish.
and you will perish unless you are there. Unless you comprehend acclamation, you will never be able to breathe high mountain air.
Agreed.
That's ruach.
Yeah.
So let's just look at this. Look it down. So we're looking at this root now, that it's from 3724. So we can go to 37. Now we have a bribe, a cover. Really, right?
Well, but system of duality.
I know, but no, it's not even that. It's like a payment based on its even grasping the mouth that has raised the head. It's actually a payment, and really, it says properly a covering again, literally, right?
Right.
It's bitum. It's what covered. It's what sealed Noah's Ark.
Right.
It was the sealing within as it's a sealing without. And it's directly connected to a redemption price.
I see that. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So really, it's talking about the price of a life redeemed, the ransom.
Right.
And this is where we even get the word henna, where you even see the Kabbalists that they cover themselves in the written scroll, that they're covering themselves with the language on the outside.
And don't they do that in Hindu processes too? With
Right.
Like in India, the wife always has the henna tattoos.
But yet you're still marking yourself with the engraving of an intention to say, you know what, it's like a tattoo.
Exactly.
This is my tattoo.
Right.
Right. It's a marking. It's an etching. It's a revelation that is on my outside, but I'm speaking it from my inside. It is simply an outward expression, my inward reality.
Exactly.
And so now we have this word we're going down. It's the same language. In the same language, it's now we're moving into Kepher, young lion.
Well, and that's interesting because this is the kippah.
Mm-hmm. You're
The
covering.
kippah. That's why they wear those.
That's why they wear the
They're
hats.
the kippahs.
It's your covering as a wall, but you are the covering. It's within you.
So they're manifesting it kind of like this is my outward adornment of what I'm in the process of becoming and having my covering.
Right. We're almost done with this first.
And then I saw young lion.
Young lion.
So it's the covering that has power on the inside.
Uh-huh.
And to cover again.
And then
to expiate, yes. Right. Make atonement.
To condone.
Yep.
To placate.
To cancel debt.
You're forgiven.
Yes, exactly. You cancel debt. So, yeah.
Remember,
I get
so
that.
we just said that you become the covering, but it's directly connected to all these words. So you are covered in reconciliation.
Exactly.
You are forgiven.
Exactly.
Your redemption is by the journey of becoming. Through the burden of the donkey, you become the white horse. You've arisen to become fully encompassed, completed. You're covered by your journey. You are forgiven from your transgressions, or from really what we thought was a curse was actually the means and direction to become the resolve.
Exactly.
It was simply
through the catalyst.
It was simply a process
Yeah.
of becoming. Through affliction, you become the resolve.
So in other words, in connecting to all of this, especially where it was saying young lion with the power on the inside, is the work and deed of your own hand within.
That's self-deliverance.
Exactly.
Through a template.
So that is redemption, and making atonement is becoming at one.
And again, not
right?
taking
one within.
Right, atonement, at one-ment.
Yes.
Again, and not taking anything away from Yeshua, because
he had to show us the way.
He had to show us the way of a completed mother through the process of
as
mother.
Being the door to open the revelation up to us.
But the greatest way, again, through inculcation, that we can honor him is by the similitude and the likeness thereof.
Exactly. Which is why that word ul with the hey mem is in the likeness of the strong body that showed us the way.
So he is not my deliverance. He is one that showed me the way of delivery, so I'm able to deliver myself. Through the power, means, and direction of the vision, I become established as the template's intention.
Exactly. Exactly.
Right.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.